Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first Youth Impact Change panel of 2022 on Zero Hunger, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions, and Gender Equality. My name is Dinis Barros da Silva. I am from Portugal, and I am in 10th grade at the American International School of Lagos, and I am the Youth Impact Change president. And I'm very excited for this panel, extremely excited, in fact. Now I'll let my colleagues present themselves. Aisha, would you like to go?
Yes. Hello, my name is Aisha Faisal. I'm from Pakistan and I'm the Vice President and Secretary of Youth Impact Change in AISL.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorenzo Nyat. I'm a Canadian Cameroonian and I'm the website manager of YICO in AISL. And I'm also a sophomore like my other three colleagues. And I'm incredibly excited to hear what you have.
My name is Campbell Hill. I'm American and I'm also currently in the 10th grade at AISL. I'm a writer at YICO and won the best article of the month titled While the Rest of the World Ignores It, Famine quickly approaches Somalia.
Now that we've had our YICO members introduce themselves, why don't we have the panelists introduce themselves? Ms. Neha, would you like to go?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Denise, Lorenzo, Aisha, and Campbell. Thanks for having me over. My name is Neha Mehta, and I've lived in Lagos for the last 2 decades. I founded 2 companies over here. The first one is called Crystal Agro, where we are innovators into the smart protein space, where we produce mock meats and are also like to call ourselves the spokespeople for the animals, where we promote vegan living. And the second, where I sit as a board member and a co-founder, is a company called First Followers, where we promote female fund managers and train them to raise investments and become successful entrepreneurs to create wealth for themselves and their investors. And I'm also a female activist, as most of you know, that I had to fight it the hard way because I was born in a different century from you guys. And that's it. So I'm here to tell you maybe that it is possible and that it's good. And thanks for having me. Really excited to hear what you all have to say.
As Dennis said, we will now get into our interesting questions that were created by our 22-member team. So the first question is, what are some past experiences you have faced with the topic of gender inequality, and what discrimination have you faced or witnessed?
So I think I'm the only panelist to answer all the questions, I guess, for now. All right.
Yeah.
So Aisha might relate to it, and maybe most of us over here as well. I grew up in an Asian family and grew up with one sibling who was male. And so the upbringing that I had along with my brother was totally different. I think women are mostly raised as caregivers and men are raised as caretakers. So at the onset of life, your roles sort of get defined as givers and takers. So obviously when you've already predefined the role for a gender, it becomes even harder for you to go forward. And I face this, so this is in the family space. Going forward, fast forward 15 years, I think, when I was in the corporate space, I grew up, I was 25, and I was part of this company, a very prestigious company based out of Dallas. And we were on a round table, and there were, I think, 7 other CEOs, and I was the only one on the table. And the bad part is that I was not even there in the capacity as a CEO. I was the manager of that whole forum. And not even one other CEO was a female on that table. And I wish that in future, and that whole group comprised of about 70 CEOs, I think only one out of 70 was a female. So it was hard, but I think if you do the right work, and if you're willing to take the risk, if you know that you have what it takes, and willing to face your own fears and challenge the conditioning that has been given to you, women can achieve it all. Yes, it was hard, but ever since then, even with the agriculture farm, that I was, again, the only one in the whole space that was women. Most of my vendors, most of my investors, everybody has always been a male counterpart. I think that's when I started the fund where I wanted to train more women to start talking about money the way men talk about money. You know, we do not think about wealth in the way a man thinks about wealth, because our role has always been around giving and never about taking or wanting or even knowing what we want, to be honest. I can give you plenty examples. We can start and we can just finish at this question itself. But if you guys want to move forward, go ahead.
Roseline Adewuyi. I'm a gender advocate. I'm also a PhD student at Purdue University studying French literature. My work is actually focused on feminist theory. That means I study works that have to do with the plight of women and how we can actually like create change in our society. And yeah, I think basically I'm a blogger. I have a blog, roselineadewuyi.com, whereby I write about issues affecting young girls and women, especially from the African context. Then I'm also a social educator. Thank you very much.
So thank you for that amazing first response. Now we're going to answer, how do you describe your working life in a male-dominated society? What's it like working with mostly men or men taking the lead most of the time?
So initially, you know, when because of the culture that you are in, what that is ingrained into you, I think that it sits in you deep inside. It takes a while to brush it off. But over the years, I've realized that you should not think of it as a male-dominated society. Your work or your caliber or the kind of inputs or the belief system that you believe in, that should be the one that should be talking for you, your actual essence. And so now when I walk into a room full of men, like I said, that, you know, we sit on a board, and initially I would be as one of them. And I think that's where women need to train themselves not to think of it as a male-dominated society, because this world belongs to all of us equally. And to first condition our own minds that even though I'm not saying that it isn't, there's a lot of decision making that happens at the top level where everybody is almost the XY chromosome and not the XX chromosome. But nonetheless, you yourself intrinsically should not feel that you don't belong in the room, or you don't belong on that panel, or you don't belong in this world, because you do, as equally as they do. And when you start believing in that, eventually the situation around will change, and they will see you for who you are, or what you do, or the kind of work that you bring to the table, or the talent that you have, because clearly you don't have any less than anybody else in that space. So you let your work speak for yourself, and do not think of it as a male-dominated society. And when you start making that room for yourself and start finding that seat on that table, as they say, you will be part. It will not be a male-dominated society again. But if you start believing, if you keep believing going forward that no, it is a male-dominated society, we will never change that narrative. So no, it is not a male-dominated society. It should be a society that is dominated by the work that you do and belongs to you as much as it belongs to anybody else.
Okay, yes. In a male-dominated society, from my own experience, I remember when I was in high school, I tried taking up a leadership role, and it was really tough. That was what birthed my advocacy, basically, like my experience and everything. A lot of people most times will actually like just judge you based on your gender before even looking at your competence. And for me, that was really crazy. I was appointed the leader of my class. And I remember vividly then I would tell the boys in my class to do something. And I would get this look of, you're a girl, why are you telling me to do this? Go and sit down. And even some girls too, they just felt like, oh, this girl, she's doing too much. Let her just, things like that. So those are things I face, especially when it comes to shall I say, what I've faced is closely related to leadership, my leadership experience, whereby people would judge my gender first before judging my competence. And that would actually that for me has actually been crazy, because sometimes I really want this leadership experience because I know where I'm going. I want a very I want a situation whereby I would get up there someday. And I believe that these leadership experiences right now, they count for the bigger role. However, when you deny young girls, when you deny people like me some leadership experience, later when I want to even vie for a very bigger position, you will tell me, oh no, you do not have a lot of leadership experience like your male counterpart. However, you've been denying me of that leadership opportunity since I've been a girl, because you feel like, okay, you're a girl, you shouldn't do this. So we say that most times, even up there, we are looking for women, and it seems like, okay, where are the women? But yet you're not even giving them opportunity right from when they're young girls, and so to say. So these are things that happen. So sometimes I still fight for what I feel like. Yes, if I feel like, yes, I can do this, I still fight for it. And over time, I've been able to still, like, people actually, some still see my competence above my gender. However, in some spaces, it's more like gender first before the competence aspect of it. However, I still keep pushing and still keep doing my best. And I believe that one day I'll be up there, and I'll ensure that I work in hand with policymakers and implementing policies that will ensure that young girls, more women, are at the helms of affairs in our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that response. I completely agree. Our third question for you is, how do you inspire men and women to join your cause, and what strategies or techniques do you use to accomplish?
Strategies and techniques do I need? Oh, okay. First of all, I truly believe that when there is a cause, there is no need for motivation to run this cause. Like, it is like, if you see a puppy being beaten, right? I don't need motivation to go and protect it. So I don't think that it is more than what I want to do to actually motivate people. It's just that I keep living my truth. If I see being wrong done, I stand up for it. So I think standing up for the people, like, if I see that, there's a lot of women in other countries, so you raise my voice, and I raise my work. And then if I'm in a full of room where there's only patriarchal men, then you raise your standards and you move out of that room and stop giving energy to that space which is crowded by patriarchy. And in such, I do write on forums, like I said, raising your voice and then standing up for the people who are in trouble or who really need to be heard, and somebody is trying to shun them down, or they're being bullied into inaction, or their voice is being shushed. So I think standing up for those people and just truly living in the belief of the gender equality, or the space that you come from, and that will motivate people. Your own life and your own actions will motivate people.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Rosaline's in the waiting room. Okay, so we're just gonna add her right now. Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I don't get the brunt of everything coming to me. Good.
Yes, but thank you for those amazing responses. Amazing.
Thank you. No, I'm happy to talk to you guys, and yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Because you guys.
Sorry?
I said you are the future, and honestly, I feel like there was much work that needed to be done 10 years before me, and when I was there, the work was a little bit easier. And when you're in the space, like, I remember watching this TED talk by, I think it was Susan Sandberg, and she said, in my lifetime, I will never see 50% equality. And I would say that I'm not dead yet. And I don't think in my lifetime, I would see a 50%, equality, like, women at the top, or men and women in politics, or men and women in finance, or men and women in the banking sector, corporate sector. We will not see 50-50, but hopefully all of you, Aisha, Denise, Lorenzo, Campbell, will see before the end of your life a 50-50 division of power, wealth, and opportunity.
I also definitely hope that. I really, really definitely hope that, because gender equality is something that needs, very important. It's a need in our society, and people are working to achieve, like you, people are working to achieve it, and so yes, it's very important to achieve.
Yeah, how do I encourage people to media? I post my work, what I do, things like that. I have a blog, I share a lot. And as a result of that, a lot of, yeah, so that's one aspect. I share a lot about my work. A lot of people are actually drawn to what I do. They see the is doing that. As a result, a lot of people reach out to me, men, women, on how they can be part of my work, on how they can support my work. Right now, I'm not in Africa, I'm in the United States. However, my project, my advocacy work still continues as a result of people who still push the work back home. And let me say 98% of these people are people that I've never set my eyes on. They just reach out to me on social media. We love what you do. I would love to be part of this. And I bring them on board. And that is it for me. Then also from my personally, I've actually been a very excellent student in terms of my academic, like always been the best in most of my, shall I say, academic journey, primary school, secondary school, and all that. So that actually draws young girls to me. They see an excellent person. And once they see that, most times they want to like learn from me, like, okay, be inspired by what I do. So they just love like the totality of what I do. So that also like draws me to a lot of people too. Then another thing I would like to say is the storytelling. I've actually seen that storytelling is actually it's a great technique or a great tool. Most times when I present articles on my blog, I always start from the storytelling perspective, from my own personal experience sometimes, or just a fictional character. And we all love stories. As young kids, we love stories. So most times when I talk about stories, when I present stories, it makes people stay glued and to try to say, okay, what is she trying to say? What point is she trying to make? And from there, I get more people to be interested in what I do about gender equality. So most of my posts on gender equality, I always start from the storytelling approach, then to get people glued on, okay, what is she trying to say? What is she trying to say? Then after the story, then I then present my points, okay, the purpose of the message, and okay, maybe trying to make recommendations on what we can do based on the stories to make our world better. Yeah, thank you very much.
The next question I want to ask is, would you want to live in a female-dominated society? I know what we discussed previously is that the entire labeling things as male-dominated, female-dominated, etc., is, you think it's it doesn't really work, it's not productive. But theoretically, what do you think about this?
So I'll take that question briefly, and I think I'll then let Roseline pitch in a bit as well. Ideally, it's a joke, but yes, but really no. I would like to live in a society where we're not dominated by male and female, and we're dominated by the value we bring to the world. I want to live in an equitable society. I do not want to live in a society which is fueled by power, by domination at all. Like nobody should be dominated, but we should be coexisting in an environment where men and women or transgender or anybody is treated equally. And that's the society I hope for. So no, I do not hope for any kind of domination.
Yes.
Or wish to live in any kind of domination, either by my gender or by an opposite gender.
Yes, I agree with that entirely. I think coexistence is the best idea. Domination is never a good idea. It's always that we can work together. That's when things work out.
So, okay, yeah. So basically on the question of if I really want a society whereby it's a female-dominated society, basically, that would be absolutely no. I've actually heard what the last person said, and it's actually in line with what I actually think about the topic as well. I do not want a society whereby a female-dominated society, neither do I want a society that is male-dominated. For me, this will actually, of course, I'm a woman, but then I do not want a society whereby women too will dominate. I believe that there's really no point in one gender trying to dominate like another gender. It's actually, for me, it's actually pointless. And I remember what someone said. The person said something that one thing about the society is that we see maybe one gender trying to dominate one another gender, but that's actually pointless. The main goal is for both of us to actually like rise up together and actually overcome the situations collectively that we'll find ourselves. And for me, it's actually more of, playing complementary roles in the society. The strength of a man, the weakness of a woman, or basically you fill in the void for each other. Perhaps a man is very good with this. Okay, a woman can actually, maybe a man is good at maybe a particular thing, and the woman is not so good at a particular thing. The man can actually come in to fill in that void. Women too, we have our areas of strength. In that aspect too, the woman can actually help the man. So playing complementary roles and trying to coexist together in unity without the consciousness of, okay, I'm trying to dominate this person, you are trying to dominate this person. Domination definitely won't work. For me, I call for harmonious relationship in the society. Everybody working towards together and trying to see, okay, how can we make the society better without the consciousness of, okay, I have to dominate the other person, this gender has to dominate the other person. I am against patriarchy, which is like a domination that is actually centered, which is androcentric. Also, I wouldn't want a matriarchal society whereby women would be the ones at the forefront. I want a situation whereby everything is equal. We have like equal representation of everyone, and there is no point like trying to dominate each other. Everybody working together to dominate the situations they find themselves. Thank you very much
for that response. So I'll ask the next question. Why are women so prone to being the member of the family with the most hunger?
Okay, can I come in on that?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So basically, I would actually talk about this from the perspective of being an African woman, especially what I know from my experience being an African woman. So Africa is a continent whereby we love hospitality a lot. It's actually a thing for us. So most times we can see that in the family, when women are actually like at the forefront of, in terms of nurturing the family, in terms of cooking, that's like a gender role, basically in Africa. So we see that most times when we see a family and the woman perhaps finishes cooking, there are situations whereby she might not have necessarily planned for maybe other people or maybe perhaps visitors in the visitors coming around. So at the end of the day, sometimes you see people coming in, maybe visitors to visit and things like that. And sometimes it might be a situation whereby there might not be enough food in the family or for the visitors, so to say. And times with that number, you see women actually sacrificing their food for visitors because of the hospitality nature of women. So sometimes they will just give out their food, and as long as the visitor is okay, they're fine. They might just find something light to eat, even sometimes go without food. I've seen this a lot. So at the end of the day, she doesn't eat anything just because of that sacrifice. And aside the hospitality side, or maybe perhaps family, this has happened to me too a number of times. Sometimes too, maybe my mom will cook something and it might not necessarily be enough. Maybe just once in a while, perhaps she didn't really like get the measurements right. And she felt like, okay, that will be okay for the whole family. And most times the first person in most African family to be served is usually the father. So once the father is served, then the children, she is usually the last person to eat. So at the end of the day, when the father eats and the children eat, and sometimes when it comes to her turn, perhaps there might just be little or no food for her. And at the end of the day, she might also go hungry, or perhaps just eat something, find an alternative that might not really be as filling as what she might have planned for before. That's also, then again, I've seen a lot of times whereby my mom had to give up her own food just for me to eat, because of course, they actually look towards, okay, my children must eat first, my husband must eat first, sacrificing their own food sometimes. So these are the reasons why you see that, okay, mothers sometimes, they tend to like, maybe they go hungry, they don't get to eat because of situations like that. Family, they prioritize other members of the family. They also prioritize also visitors because of the hospitality culture that exists in Africa. So this is what I would like to say based on my own point of view, especially coming from Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Roseline. I totally agree with Roseline on this, and I'd like to add my 2 cents in it. And um, my question is that how did women become okay with uh, making one man of the family the leader and being okay with not being served food? Have they forgotten what their appetite is? I think, and again, I'll go back to an article that I read a couple of days ago. I think it was an Elephant Journal, and it was called that women are trained to become wanted. Like, we want to be wanted by everybody. And men are trained to want things. So we want to become the object of being wanted by people. So we act in a way that we are liked by everybody. But men act in a way, what do they want for life? I think, and I'll take that point because, what is the solution to this problem? What is the solution to this problem of my mother or your mother going and, being at a dinner table? And there's another book, I think it's called The Burnt Toast, and it was by an American writer. And she said every time that I would make toast for my family for breakfast and one toast would get burnt, I would keep that for myself. Like, I would not go and put another toast in the toaster and, so that I can also have, I will have the burnt toast. No, go ahead and put another bread in the toaster because you deserve it. I think women have forgotten about what they deserve. It's because they've stopped asking themselves the question, what do they want from their life? Everybody else in the family dynamics, like the man has personal goals for his work, maybe for his career, his finances. Of course, the kids have personal goals for themselves. But the woman has zero personal goals. Her only goals are around caregiving to the other people. So I think the women have forgotten what their appetite for food is. And I'm not just naming general food, like as in, bread, butter. But even otherwise, what are the goals that you want to achieve in your life? What is your appetite for life? And once we start feeding, once we have to question ourselves, what is that you want from your life that is not related to the rest of the people around you? What do I want from my life? I want to change the way women think about wealth. I want that every woman should be talking about finances. I want to change the relationship that women have with wealth. And that is my hunger. And I'm going to feed it. Nobody's going to give it to me. I don't need permission to feed that part of me. I do not need, of course, I will face hurdles to feed that hunger of mine or that purpose of my life. But it's not going to, and I'm not going to sit and complain about it, that I don't need permission from anybody to feed myself, And I think that's how I take it as hunger. And unfortunately, yes, the conditioning is so strong that women are trained as not wanting, as not being the people who can want something. They have to become the object of being wanted by people. So I think that will be a good narrative to change. And we've grown up seeing that in society. So I hope the coming generations do not at least object to that or do not live in that belief system and really want you don't need permission, like the father of the house doesn't ask the mother permission every morning before going to a board meeting that, oh my honey, I'm going for a board meeting, do I have your permission? But a woman would always feel the need to tell the man of the house that, oh honey, I'm even going out to buy groceries or doing this or doing that, because she doesn't feel she has the right to live her own life. And so she has to be a little unapologetic about having dreams, I think.
Yes, I definitely agree with everything that was stated. And it's actually brought up some new points that we weren't really even looking at. But yes, thank you for bringing up those points. So our next question is, you as a gender activist, what are some of the challenges that you faced while promoting this topic? So did anybody put you down? Did anybody say that this is a cause that is not worth fighting? What is your experience with fighting for this cause?
I don't know if I faced any backlash, but I can tell you what within me is what I have to get over myself. When you are on a journey to active feminism, And is this not crazy feminism? Like people said, oh my God, I hate men. No, I don't hate men. This is active feminism. I just want women to have equal rights as men. That's all that there is to it. But when I started talking about it over forums, in meetings, and at dinner tables, I would get labeled as being too loud or being too sharp or being too opinionated or, having too much voice. And I used to feel bad about it. And I would feel like, oh my God, why would they say that to me? Like, I'm just such a good person. And so what my problem was to become okay, but for being called too loud or being called too opinionated or being called, somebody who smiles a lot or, having a voice. And I was like, nobody else is going to define who I am. And for women, it's a little more difficult to become okay with being labeled. So I think for me, the personal journey was like, I would not lose friendship, but let it go, like whatever. And you'll be okay. You know who you are and just live your truth to the fullest. And whoever wants to say anything is their problem and not yours. And keep raising your voice and keep raising your opinions and keep being you.
Okay, I'd like to add to this. So for me, it's actually been a journey. I started this like 6 years ago, and it was really tough. It was really tough. Like I always tell people, being a feminist is actually not for the faint-hearted. If you're not strong, you actually be you ask. There are sometimes you even ask yourself like, these words, these insults I'm getting, do they actually worth it? You have to ask. Sometimes I ask myself these questions, especially when I started. And, being in Africa, it's like there's still this pushback in Africa about what feminism stands for. A lot of people really do not, they see it as maybe something you're promoting, something that is really like, maybe you're misguided or you're being delusional, especially when you talk about equality. And most times I realize that when you talk about equality, a lot of people just assume equality to be like, maybe, okay, you're trying to say, okay, men and women are equal in the sense of, okay, equal. But then I always try to tell people that the equality we're pushing for is not like, okay, we are the same. Equality doesn't mean sameness. It simply means that, okay, we have different physiognomy and everything, but then we are actually, because we are all human beings, we have the same value, we have the same worth. But then a lot of people do not understand it this way. So when I actually like, I'm this kind of person, I use social media a lot because I find out that social media it's a very important tool in creating change in our world today. So I post a lot of articles online. And again, cyberbullying has actually been a very strong thing for me. I post something out there and someone gets to insult me, attack me, abuse me, say a lot of things. I remember years ago, those things used to get to me in a very, very strong way. But then I actually have some support system around me who would advise me. You already know that this journey wouldn't be easy for you, right? Like, okay, a lot of people would actually come for you. It's actually still a new thing for a lot of people. They're still trying to understand the concept of the whole thing. So you do not expect people to accept everything you say. So just keep doing your thing. So along the line, I started developing a very tight skin towards everything they actually like tell me. So if you tell me this, what I would just do is I would definitely, sometimes I ignore. Why sometimes when I really want to reply you, I reply you in a gracious way. That's what I do. But when it comes to insults, abuses, and the likes, as a result of what I do, I've gotten that a lot. Then also the aspect of being a single lady, a lot of people would actually project a lot of things at me. Oh, you're a single lady and you're a feminist. A man would be scared to get married to you. Sometimes, I even see it on social media. Oh, as a feminist, some guys will just put it out there. Once I see that a lady is a feminist, she's a red flag for me. So already there's that projection that, oh, this person being a feminist is a red flag for me. I wouldn't want to get married to the person. And in fact, even people calling me like close friends, like, okay, that projection that this feminism you're doing, hope you will get to like see someone that would want to partner up with you, a man that would really like you, because they might be scared of you that, oh, this person will not be submissive in marriage. I get a lot of things. Some people say it in a very condescending way, like, oh, you better stop what you're doing. Please stop this, stop that. So those are issues I get to like face daily. However, I think one thing that keeps me going is because this. When I see the lives of the girls I'm impacting, the lives of women I'm impacting, I know that keeps me going. I think for me, that is actually worth much more than what every other person will say about me. When I see those smiles, when I see someone telling me, oh, because of you, I was able to do this. Because of this, I changed this conditioning. Because of this, I changed this gender norm about myself. That keeps me going over all the insults. Those abuses won't actually do anything. Like, you just abuse me. At the end of the day, yes, it goes and I'm fine. I'm okay. I've developed a tough skin already. So that's just it for me. And again, the kind of work that I do, I know that it's definitely not for acceptance. The rights I'm actually benefiting from right now, some women actually fought hard for those things, and they were called rebels. They were called all sorts of names, but yet they still stood strong. And at the end of the day, of course, not everybody would definitely accept you. It's not for acceptance, definitely. But you know that at least you're fighting a good cause and you're doing what you just have to do for the next generation of girls and women coming behind. So for me, I always look back and try to reflect on my why and higher purpose. Like, okay, why did you start this? Like, why did you start this before? Why did you even like venture into this, what you're doing? And for me, that keeps me absolutely going. Thank you very much.
So let me ask, go back to you, all of you, Denise, and what made you guys choose this goal about gender equality? Like, what inside you inspired you guys to take this as the thesis?
If I may, so since I've known about this whole gender inequality, I've always felt like, even though I'm a man, I'm an African man who lives in Africa, like, because I've seen it all around me, I tend to want to know why it happens and what's the cause and then how to fix it, because it's not fair. And I believe in fairness, and it's just honestly in my mind, it's not fair. Something that also helps me is, although the juxtaposition of the fact that I'm an African, I live in Africa, but my mother is the main breadwinner of our family. She's like the leader, and so her leadership and her, like, even at her job and as a mother, and her leadership, and she's like the perfect example of a powerful woman for me. And so that's why I like talking about gender equality and finding ways to solve it, because it's always been a topic that it's not something I tell people, but it's always been a topic that I've really been interested in, because honestly, I don't think it's fair, especially everything I read. Like, it's, yeah. So
It's very interesting, because when I talk about finance and I talk about private equity, and women equality is not just a socialist issue. It's not, and if you guys will read my article, you can also go back to what Roseline was saying, and no good man will want to marry you. I was like, leave the good man alone, find a normal man, like find just a man and who's okay with you being you. But anyway, what I was coming to is like, feminism or gender equality, it is not a social issue. It is not a feminist issue. It is actually a financial issue. It is a GDP problem. If women who make up 50% of your population are only given 2% of investments opportunity that are given throughout the world, only 2%. And I'm talking numbers here, 1.98% is invested into women-raised entrepreneurship, 2% against 98%. And wherever you will see that disparity is the highest is where you will see the country's GDP is the lowest. So, you have it in front of you. So where are we going with this? Forget about social and, everything. Like, if you want to be financially independent, you have to give women the opportunity, the risk capital, and you have to believe in them. Like, so more men, more countries, more funding opportunities have to become pro-women, because not doing that, you're sabotaging the future of this earth, you're sabotaging the future of your country, you are sabotaging growth of us as a society. And yeah, and to Roseline, like, leave the good men. They don't want you, like, woman. All right. Anybody else was like, what inspired all of Aisha, Campbell?
Well, Well, just so I can answer, to kind of answer that question, we focused every single month we focus on an SDG, correct? And this month we decided to focus on SDG 5, gender equality, because it's I believe it's 25th of November is Elimination of Violence Against Women Day. And so we every month we focus on a specific day, and that's why we focused on a lot of the different SDGs, so also zero hunger and peace and justice as strong institutions. But some of the things that are actually being brought up in this panel are, beyond what we were thinking and kind of responsive to, we have 2 more questions left. And so kind of responsive to the other 2 questions. But yeah, I think it was very inspired also on the fact that when gender equality is able to be fixed, other SDGs will be able to be fixed. So for example, reduced inequalities, SDG 10, zero hunger, another one we focused on, SDG 2, peace and justice and strong institutions, SDG 6, all of them, exactly. All of them will be able to improve and be fixed when women get full equality and when women get an equal representation and an equal chance to have a voice in society. So yeah, that's kind of why we decided to also focus this panel more on gender equality.
Our next question were about the changes that you'd like to see relating to the topics of women's rights. How would you like to see our society be different regarding this topic, whether that be in the financial sector or in the justice courts, or just everyday social society? What would you think needs to be changed in order to get to those results?
Should I go? Roseline, do you want to take it or should I? Okay. I think number one, I think women need to start supporting women, right? For the longest time, we'll always see that there would be 10 men on the table and then there'd be 1 seat for a woman. And usually what happens is that all women end up fighting for that 1 seat that they have left for that one woman. And then there is lots of women end up not supporting women. And I think that's how the man has created his table. Like there will be 9 seats for the men and then 1 for the women. So either elongate your table, eliminate it, be it 50-50. Women need to start supporting women. I think the second thing is that we now need to start we need to start raising our children right. I think it begins at home and the conditioning that we see in our families. And I'm very proud to hear that, that Lorenzo, and it's very rare for an African family. And, we're all standing at a threshold of change. I think the narrative is changing already. Like what's happening in Iran right now. All the women, they would rather give up their lives than, be told what to do. Like, kill me, but do not tell me what to do. That is a narrative for change when you stand up. So we're already standing at that threshold when things are going to start falling. But I think that when we have kids, or if you all kids decide to have families or ever have kids, to raise or even if not children that you come across, to raise them with the right value systems. The third thing is I want more women to be taking financial responsibility. I don't think enough women think that financial responsibility is the responsibility of the female gender, but and also because of lack of opportunity, lack of conditioning, and the way the society is set up. So it'll be a hard journey, but I need more women going out there and talking about finances and capital and finding that seat, fighting for that seat, and knowing that it's their birthright and their responsibility to go for it. What else would I like to see?
When you're thinking of that, Ms. Roseline, do you want to maybe say?
Okay, all right. So for me, I actually envision a world whereby there will be changes in our educational system. So I always tell people what actually made me start this journey was as a result of the discrimination I faced when I wanted to go for a leadership role in a school. And that was actually shocking for me. Because for me, I felt like educational institutions, which are supposed to be all marks of enlightenment, why should they be actually promoting gender inequality or gender norms in our society? This is supposed to be a place whereby the enlightenment, the exposure should actually be top-notch. However, you see this pushback when it comes to issues of gender norms. A young girl would want to go vie for a leadership role. I've experienced this a lot of times. And a lot of people would actually, people that are really educated would actually tell her, no, you don't have to. Go sit down there. Let a man take this up. Even teachers sometimes educators are also part of this discrimination, whereby they feel like girls are doing too much. Maybe in terms of STEM, they do not even like encourage these young girls. I would really want to elaborate, but I just want to keep this short. But then there are a lot of examples I could give based on this. And for me, when I look at this, and this is part of the core of my work, I'm actually running a project right now. It's called Engenders, meaning ending gender stereotypes in schools. So I talk to young girls. I also talk to boys, because I believe that boys too are also part of this. They are part of changing this narrative. After talking to the girls, it's also important to talk to the boys so that they do not actually like also insultive words towards the boys, towards the girls, that would actually even bring the morale down. So it's actually a collective effort. It's targeted towards both girls and also boys, and also educators, because they also have this strong hold on the kids, and also parents too. They're also very important in also ensuring those changes. In schools, we also have this parent teachers association. So this is also a way whereby we also talk to people to parents about these issues, gender issues. Like, okay, you don't have to say, okay, girls should actually be at maybe like at the back burner. They should also be out there. They should take things, like they should try to go for whatever they deserve. So I also want the situations whereby a lot of policies in schools will actually encourage gender equality. When it comes to leadership, go for it. When it comes to gender roles in schools, oh, men should do that, girls should do that. That should change, and a lot of things. And I believe that when young girls take up leadership roles, like maybe from a young age, it will actually help them when they grow up, because they would have this much needed experience.
Thank you for that response. I completely agree. Our third question for you is, how do you inspire women and men to join your cause? And what strategies or techniques do you use to do?
Okay, that it is. Yes, let me repeat that for your
Discarding, yeah.
I would take the flop side of feminism as well, because a lot of women, when they see that, the culture is that men is the breadwinner and you are the caregiver, you end up thinking that it is not your responsibility, and you think that this is a good life. You think that you don't have to take the responsibility of winning the bread, and you can just marry into wealth, because and this is true for the forum that we're speaking to right now, might not be true for other forums that we're speaking to otherwise, that you can just marry into wealth and you'll be fine. It is not your problem. But in any situation, whether it be corporate life, whether it be family life, whether it be your partner, your boss, or your your society or your government, when you give away financial control to somebody else, it is called abuse. So if a man in your household is holding the financial control and you don't have any rights over finances, that's domestic abuse. So it may look like a good life, but it is truly not a rock solid life for yourself. And I think a lot of women fall pitfall to that belief system and think that, oh, there's a flop side to feminism, but it's really not. It's more about equality than being about being a crazy feminist, like who some of us are labeled, but which we're not. Yeah. Okay, we'll take your next question. I think we're coming to the end of time as well.
Okay, great. So the last question is, would you like to see more men promoting the topic about the rights of women, and how?
Absolutely. I would definitely want more men to be at the forefront of this issue. So from my observation, especially, okay, I use social media quite a lot, and I've actually noticed something. Sometimes when we women, when we raise some issues, people actually come for us. They don't listen to us. Maybe perhaps because of the fact that, okay, what is she talking about? Or maybe because they feel like it affects them in a very deep way. I really don't know. So sometimes Men will just, oh, you're talking trash. However, that same information, that same message, I noticed that when a man actually passes that across, men listen to them. So I've actually seen that men sometimes they listen to other men when it comes to this issue. So it would be a good thing if we have more progressive men in our society. Who are also passionate about this cause, who would actually like be at the forefront, actually respected men in our society. I've also seen situations whereby there have been some pushbacks for some men, whereby when they're at the forefront of things like this, men, their fellow men, we actually call them, oh, you are, what's it called? They call them sims, or use some sort of languages for them. However, I've also seen a lot of men actually, especially when the person is respected, they listen to them. So when we have this happening, I believe that it will go a long way in ensuring that gender equality is actually like, it's assured in our society. So I just want to be brief about this. So basically, I feel men listen to men, and this will actually go a very long way. Yeah.
Ms. Neha, would you like to respond?
Oh, okay. Yes, I would take this question as we will define it as patriarchy, like men who do not listen to you, or men who think that they know better, or men who think that they are just by default of their chromosome structure are just better than you. So when you come across a room like that, or when you come across a situation where you're surrounded by men like that, and I'm not saying that every man is like that, you will find people, of course, everybody should be non-patriarchal, but it's not the truth. Every woman should be non-patriarchal. I even feel that some of the women are patriarchal in nature as well. But it's not the truth. So my suggestion here is that when you come across a room where you are surrounded by patriarchy, there are 3 solutions to the problem. The first thing is you raise your game. And you know what you're talking about, you know what you're saying, and be firm on it. If that doesn't work, you raise your voice. Like they tell you that, oh my God, you don't know enough. You raise your voice and you say, listen, dude, you know what? 1 second, let me finish and let me tell you why I'm right. And if that doesn't work, then you raise your standards and you walk away. And you find the people who are not patriarchal, for the lack of better language, and find room for who are actual true men in the truest sense of their being. And there are many of them. We have 2 of them on this forum, and you will find those people. And I think they're more and more by numbers as we move into the future. So, but for women who will end up in situations like that, raise your game, raise your voice, or raise your standards. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your responses. Your responses were amazing. So yes, thank you very much, panelists, for your participation and responses. We really appreciate your presence and wish you much success in your field of work, definitely. It is truly an important thing to work with women's rights. And again, as I said previously, it helps with also other sectors of society. So yes, thank you very much for all your amazing work. Do you have any last words before we end this panel?
I think women should be more unapologetic about being women. And that's my one word and my takeaway, for more females to be unapologetic about being who they are, doing what they do, and living their truth and living their caliber and living their strength. And they are born with equal birthrights. And I think that they should claim it.
Okay. So for me, what I would just say is that as a woman, especially on this journey, like a lot of things will be said to you. People might abuse you and everything, but then when in the midst of all this, just actually like go back to the drawing board and try to ask yourself questions. Okay, why am I doing this? Like, what is my why? What is my higher purpose? And at least that should actually keep you going despite anything. Sometimes some people, I also glean from the stories of some other women that have actually gone ahead. They didn't have it easy neither. They really fought, like some things I'm enjoying, they really fought hard for it. So for me, I just feel like sometimes I've not even really had like 1/10 of what some people they've already faced. Like people in Iran right now, some people have actually been arrested. I've not even been arrested for my activism yet. So it shows that yes, we still have a long way to go, and yes, I'll still keep pushing. So despite that, just keep pushing. And sometimes too, just keep doing your thing. We have some so-called patriarchal princesses who we still want to. I really don't know why some people are patriarchal princesses anyway, still trying to like dance to the tunes of patriarchy. But then we have women like that. For women like that, I think we should just keep trying our best to talk to them, to see how they can, well, sometimes it can be tough, especially conditioning is very, very strong. So it's very difficult sometimes, but let's just keep doing our best to educate them. Perhaps sometimes some might see the light of the day that, okay, this cause that we're fighting for is noble. Thank you very much.